So what is all this? Well, this is probably my most epic and impressive haul ever. I just came back with all this stuff and I wanted to show it to you guys. You can probably figure out what some of it is just by looking at the boxes, although some of it's kind of mislabeled, and you can probably see through some of the bubble wrap. But I'm going to be opening all this stuff right now with you, and I'm going to see if all of it works. Hopefully it does. Let's just dig into this, and there's also an interesting story behind a lot of this stuff. So I'll probably tell some of that as we go along. I'm going to save some of it for other videos, but all of this stuff came from one guy who's a really cool guy and kind of an important person in classic computing history. So let's just get to it. I'm going to open this stuff now and we'll take a look at what's in here. Now I'm going to kind of go from least important to most important here. Importance as determined by what I was actually looking for when I went into this. I actually was looking for a specific computer, and I have that, but I got a lot of other extra stuff that I wasn't expecting with this. So this is actually the mystery box of Atari games, and I'm not sure exactly what's in here, so let's just find out. I will say that I got all of this from a guy who worked pretty high up at Warner Communications at the time that they owned Atari. He did tell me it was okay to use his name. His name was Terry McCarty, and a lot of this stuff has some cool history behind it. This, I think, was probably just, you know, a system they used in the home, but let's see what it is. All right, so here's the mystery box contents, and as you can see, it's a light sixer, Atari 2600. It is a little different than ones that I've seen or have owned. In fact, I own my own 2600 light sixer, and from what I remember, these colors are a little different, and so are the switches themselves. Mine does not have these rounded style, so I don't know if that's something common. I'll have to look into that. Got myself a full set of 2600 remote control joysticks. Those are a little uncommon, I guess, especially to have the what looks like the complete set there. This is an unopened boxed copy of Missile Command. That's kind of cool, especially with the $1.99 price tag, marked down from $23.99. And got some loose games here too. Got Star Raiders controller to go with Star Raiders, which is in there. And a couple of kind of rare games here. We've got China Syndrome from Spectra Video. That's a rarity of 5, I guess, on the Atari Age Rarity Guide. And Sir Lancelot. This is the non-double-ended cartridge, which I don't know. It seems like this one is a little rarer. This is a rarity of 7, I guess. So I feel like this mystery box turned out pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. And let's move on to some more stuff. Almost forgot. Got a bunch of manuals too, including the manuals for Sir Lancelot, China Syndrome. Got a Atari catalog here and a couple of Atari Force comics. So that's pretty cool too. Just a minor update on this 2600. Some of you might have recognized right off the bat that these switches are actually from a factory refurbished unit, which is what this is. If you sent your unit into Atari to be refurbished, they generally seem to come out with these weird, shiny, rounded switches. And no other Atari 2600s were ever made with these, that I could find anyway. But factory refurbished units pretty much always had them. It's actually, these are kind of rare, I guess, so it's I'm kind of happy to have one. And here we have an Atari 800 computer, complete with 2 Atari 810 disk drives, an Atari 850 interface for connecting things like modems. I actually half expected to see an Atari acoustic modem in this package somewhere. It may still be in one of these other boxes, I'm not sure, or it may just not be included. But The cool thing about this particular computer is that it was actually part of the Warner Communications video tests in 1980, 81. That's what I was told by the seller, and I have no reason to disbelieve that. The videotex thing it's kind of a forgotten era of internet history now. This was sort of before CompuServe, Prodigy, AOL, that kind of thing. They were trying to do sort of a comprehensive service where you could do things like travel booking, you could do online shopping, you could even have video on demand. You could have video with your online shopping to give you kind of product features and, whatever. And this particular computer was used to test the home experience of that, like how people would actually experience that in the home. I have another computer here right next to this that I haven't opened yet that was used to test actually serving those features. So that's kind of cool too. But obviously you see there's a little bit of damage there. I think I might have done that myself today. I did see a few little pieces of plastic on the floor of my car after bringing this home. So that could be on me. I don't know. But still really cool to have this. This is a Sony KV1311CR TV/monitor. It's kind of the precursor to their PVM series, I guess. It's actually an RGB monitor. It has both RGB digital and analog. Let me just show you the inputs here on the side. You can see here, this is RGB digital, this is analog. And right now I don't have any obvious way to test it. It is a TV and I can power it on, but unfortunately it is an analog only TV. So it's kind of useless as a TV in this day and age. You're just going to get static, which is what you see here. It does switch to video and RGB, so I'll figure out a way to test it. I did get this cable with it. I'm not sure what it's to. It's probably, and I'm glad to have this because this is obviously kind of a strange connector. This one looks a lot more normal, and I'm guessing I know what that's to, but I will have to show you that in a minute. But this should work. I mean, it also has regular video input there, so if I don't have anything to test the RGB on, I'll at least test on regular video input just to make sure that it works in general. That moment when I realized I have nowhere to put something. Yes, it is the Big Daddy. It's the IBM PC, the original. And according to the seller, this was actually one of the first units off the line. It's a 64K unit, apparently. And again, this was used in the testing of that Warner Communications video text service. So obviously needs a bit of a cleaning, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to test everything out and get it all working. I'm going to make a full video just about this, about the IBM PC, its history in general, maybe a little on this particular machine's history, a little on my history with the IBM PC, because this is not the first time that I've used one. It's the first time I've used one in a long time, and I've wanted one of these for a long time. It took me a really long time to find one that was basically complete in the boxes and had the color monitor. It's got the 5153, the color monitor, CGA monitor, Those are not that common. The 5154 is even less common. That's the EGA monitor. The monitor, I believe, was probably a later upgrade because those didn't come out immediately with the system. But this system does have, I mean, it's basically original. It's been unmessed with. Supposedly works. Hopefully it does. And I've also got all the books and software that it came with, which I'll open right now. Why not? Fantastic. Every one of these is individually bubble wrapped. That's what I like to see. Hey. There's DOS. I'm going to have to find room for all of these somewhere. Guide to operations. That's basically the manual. Another guide to operations. Not sure why there's two. Maybe it's just that big. Had to be in 2 volumes. And here's another DOS 2.1. What is this? I don't know. I'm guessing this is 1.0 or something. Guide to operations for an XT. I'm not sure why I have that, but it's cool, I guess. And if you're not sure why, I'm not sure why. It's because this is not an XT. This is an original PC. Asynchronous communications support. That's interesting. I mean, I don't know if that's interesting, but interesting that it included that. But would make sense for a computer that's being used specifically for communications. And there's IBM Basic. And that's it. By the way, one of these things is not like the others. If you ask me, whatever troublemaker was responsible for this really should have been fired immediately. Before I actually test it out, let me just crack it open and see what's actually in here. I have an idea by looking at these, but let's just make sure. I think my screwdriver might be a little big. What do you think? I'm going to make it work. Whoa. The first thing I notice, obviously, is this. This card is a little bent, to be charitable. If it works, it works. I mean, whatever. But that's a little strange. Let's see what else we got in here. Now, here's the inside of the machine. This is the inside of an IBM PC, original 5150. I've obviously disconnected the floppy disk controller, which is right here. I've removed all the cards out of the machine, and that's because I want to check that everything at least looks good before I try to turn it on. The tantalum capacitors in these are known to have problems, so I'm going to at least give them all a visual check, make sure they're okay. But I did find some cool stuff in here. Obviously, you see the CGA card here is bent, which is unfortunate, and I realized that it was just not put in the slot properly. There's a little holder here on this side that's supposed to keep cards stable, and this one was just kind of jammed up against it. It wasn't actually in the slot, so I hope it still works. I'll try it out, and I've put it back in properly now. That's why it's in there. I'm trying to straighten it out as much as I can. But anyway, this machine had all the usual suspects. It had the disk controller card. It's got the serial card here. But then it had some cool stuff too. This is an AST 6-pack plus card, which adds, I believe, a maximum of 384K of RAM, which, as you see, is fully populated on this board. It also adds various other features, a real-time clock that the system lacked, a parallel port things like that. It can add a joystick port, but mine is not populated here, so makes sense. This was not a machine for play. This was a machine for work. So other cool thing that this machine has is a plus hard card. This is basically, I don't know that much about these. I'm going to read more about this, but from what I can tell, it's pretty much a 3.5-inch drive on an ISA card, which is pretty neat. And as far as I knew, the original IBM PC, the 5150, did not support hard drives at all. I guess the last BIOS update did. I don't know if this has that, but I didn't really think it would do it just straight from an ISA slot. But I guess what's the difference between having a controller there and having just it on the card? Anyway, I didn't realize this machine had a 20 megabyte hard drive with it. So bonus, I guess. I'm happy about that. So anyway, I'm going to check this out, make sure everything looks good, and then I'll test it out for you. Okay, so it's the next day now. I am going to actually hook this up and turn it on pretty soon. But before I do that, I just want to talk about a couple more things. I looked everything over. Everything looks pretty good. I looked up a few things that I wasn't sure about on the internet to see what they were. And I'm now pretty sure that this is actually one of the last IBM PCs off the assembly line, not one of the first. This is a 64 to 256K motherboard. It would have come with 64K. 256K is the maximum, and as you see here, it is fully populated, so the memory on this board is maxed out. These motherboards, the 64 to 256K, they only came later in the PC's lifespan. And as you may have seen before, on the 6-pack board, I've got another 384K. So I've got the full 640K that the PC supports. There are several chips that probably came with the computer that are dated 1983, even 1984. And it does have the last BIOS chip on there. So it does support, theoretically, hard drives. And obviously, this one was in there, so it must work. Even if you had the last BIOS, a lot of PCs wouldn't use hard drives at the time because the weak link is the power supply with its 63.5 watts. Hard drives of the time generally used more than the PC could support on the 12-volt rail, so which was, I believe, only 24 watts. So with everything else in here, plus the hard drive, you know, it usually wouldn't work, but I guess this one does. So that's good news. And, you know, as far as I can tell, everything in here is maxed out. This is basically as powerful a PC as you could get. It even has the 8087 coprocessor there. Again, full 640K, 20 meg hard drive, CGA graphics. You could expand one of these all the way up to VGA, but CGA is about as good as you could have gotten at the time that this was out. I don't think EGA was even on the market yet at that point. So, you know, I'm pretty happy with this. I've got basically a maxed out PC. Someone is going to ask me why these two floppy drives are different. You see the different boards, and I don't know. Maybe one of them is a replacement, or maybe it's just what they had on the assembly line at that point. But anyway, everything looks good, so I'm going to put everything back in here and hook it up and hopefully fire it up. And yes, I did blow it out with some compressed air. Not sure exactly where this sticker came from, but I believe we have a manufacturing date there, September 20th, 1984. So I know you can see my reflection in there, so hey. Now, I admit I tried this just once before, so I'm pretty sure I know what's going to happen. This thing takes like 7 minutes to boot. So I'm probably going to turn it on, let you hear a little of the startup, and then cut to when it actually comes to life. I think it's the hard drive, something about the hard drive, and maybe checking all that 640K of memory. But let's just turn it on now, and you can see for yourself. Might be good to turn on the monitor too. Well, that was a lot faster this time, and maybe that's, I don't know. I feel like the hard drive was almost seized up. When I first turned it on, it made this really horrible whining noise for a really long time before I could actually hear it spring to life and start making scratchy noises. I've got the DOS disk in there right now. I don't know if I need that at all. It didn't seem like it was doing anything, so I tried booting it with the DOS disk in there, and whatever. It eventually worked. But there we go. We got to an A prompt, and seems to be working. So I'm going to call this one all done and set up for now. And you'll definitely be seeing more of this. I will be featuring this in another larger video pretty soon. So, and probably other videos in the future as well. And just since I know somebody's going to ask, here's the directory of drive C. Yes, the hard drive does work. And you see I have a little more than 10 megabytes free there. There doesn't seem to be anything all that interesting here. So it looks like it's probably all work related. And I don't really want to show the files of the previous owner anyway, but nothing salacious or anything like that that I can tell. So next thing I'm going to test is this Sony monitor and the Atari 800. I don't know if this is the right hookup, but I'll try it and see. And if this doesn't work, I'll try something else. How do you even turn this thing on? Well, I'm not even sure this is the right cable. Let's try this one. I saw something on the screen there. So after a little troubleshooting with my other monitor, you see it does in fact work, as does the Atari 800, which is great. And if you want to know what was wrong, I finally realized I did not have the power cable pushed in all the way. So let that be a lesson to you. When something doesn't work, check the really, really obvious stuff first. So anyway, it is working on the front input. Let me just check the side input. As you can see, it doesn't fill the entire screen. I'm not entirely sure why or if there's anything I can do about that, but anyway, there it is on the side input. There's also a little bit of a pinch effect there at the top, which I've had that on basically every Trinitron TV I've ever owned, which is it's just annoying. But anyway, it does work. I'm going to actually try one thing that I suspected that other cable was for. So let me do that right now. So look at that. Not sure if you can see that, but I do have a blinking cursor, and if you can hear in the background, there are fans running. This is the IBM PC hooked up to the Sony monitor. I'm not exactly sure why the seller of this had both the IBM monitor and this Sony monitor. I don't know which one of these is actually better. Probably the Sony supposedly is, but anyway, this is CGA. It's a CGA monitor. That's what digital RGB is. If you see digital RGB, wow, look at that. I didn't see this before because I had DOS in the A drive. But anyway, digital RGB is CGA. So if you see something with a digital RGB input, that's a CGA monitor. Most likely. I mean, I can't say in every case, but I don't personally know of cases where digital RGB was used other than CGA. So anyway, I'm pretty happy with this. I still see that weird pinch up at the top. So I'm probably just going to keep using the IBM monitor for most things, but I can use this for other systems. And, you know, I have another CGA monitor. I'm curious to kind of test between those two which one is actually better. And maybe there's something I can do about that geometry. I'll try and figure that out. But anyway, this monitor does work. So that's another cool bonus, I guess. Just one thing left to test, and then I'm going to end this video. So we got the 2600 hooked up. May as well test it. And got Sir Lancelot here. Let's just try this thing out. And look at that. Looks pretty good. I have never played this game. I have no idea what I'm supposed to do. Oh, it's Joust. That's what it is. It's sort of Joust. I was definitely on top of that guy and I died. So let's see. Oh, the physics are weird. But this is definitely Joust. Do I have any sound? Yep. You know, I want to try playing this against the the real Joust and see how they compare on the 2600. I don't think I've ever played actual Joust on the 2600. Ooh, look at that. Well, that's pretty cool. Whoa. What am I supposed to do? I don't know what that is. Ah. Well, okay. Now, the more observant among you might have noticed there was also an Epson RX80 printer box on the table at the beginning of this. There's also a Hayes modem. There's a couple of little things that I didn't test. The main thing was this IBM PC. That's what I actually purchased, and that's what I really was hoping would work. And it does. So, successful. Everything that I tested, everything that I did test, at least eventually worked. And now that I've got this thing running, it seems to be running fine. It took like 10 minutes to boot the first time, but it's booting just fine. The next time you see it, it's going to be all cleaned up, and it's going to be in a longer video about the IBM PC in general. So watch for that, and I hope you enjoyed seeing all this stuff as I opened it. I'm hopefully going to use all of it in later videos, and I'm also going to enjoy it on my own time. So that's it for now. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.